we get going? I will mute everybody.
It's really quiet, eh?
Sure is.
Can you turn up the volume somehow?
My volume's at full.
So is ours.
I don't know.
I can hear you fine.
Fine.
Yeah, you're the quietest one, Jen.
Oh, wow. I will scream at you for yoga today. How's that?
No.
No screaming. Yeah, no, I'm as good as it gets, I think.
What do you say, pal?
Okay, I want to mute everybody.
Look at move closer. I can't hear. Did she see you? Yeah, just see you lying flat. See Rocky.
So we will get started. Let's start in Shavasana. So corpse pose on your back. Find a version thereof that's comfortable, whether you want your knees bent or a pillow under your head. The whole point is to be still in your body while we can focus on connecting to your breathing. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. Remember, like the first week, if I freeze or anything happens, I will be back. But hopefully we're technology competent today, or at least I am. All right. So coming down into your Shavasana pose, literally translated to corpse pose. And allow yourself to find the next few minutes of stillness in the body. Probably one of the most difficult things. Notice the wandering thoughts as they come. And the practice with stilling the mind, or a meditation type practice, is to notice, not judge, and then refocus back to the awareness of your breath. That's how we downregulate our nervous system, any anxiety. And as one of my dear colleagues says, an overflow of nervous energy. Start to notice where your breath comes from and work to take that breath down into your belly. As you inhale, the lungs fill, the diaphragm lowers, your belly expands. And as you exhale, everything fully empties. Creating awareness of the breath, looking to find more depth, more ease, more fullness to the inhale. And work towards lengthening and completing the exhale. Stress and busyness tends to keep us hyperinflated. So we breathe more just from the chest, and we never get rid of that full exhale. That's why taking a deep breath in and sighing out feels so good. And you may find yourself doing that periodically during the day, just as an unconscious way of resetting your breath rate. Allow your body to soften on the mat. Getting a little heavier with each breath. Noticing if there's a little discomfort in the stillness and a challenge of quieting your thoughts. Just notice. Taking your fullest, longest, deepest inhale yet. And exhaling everything out. On your next inhale, let's just sweep your arms up and overhead. Create lots of length in your body. As you inhale, reach your heels away, point your toes. You can clasp your hands and flip your palms to the back of the room. You can reach along through one side, through the other. Just notice what happens when you create that length in the body. And you can let those arms come down. Let's give those knees a hug into your chest. If it's uncomfortable on the knees, you can hug behind. Give those knees a nice hug in and just gently rocking from side to side. Just kind of notice how your lower back feels. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Try to make sure the back of your neck is long. If there's any strain in the back of the neck, grab a little pillow or a sweater and put it behind your head. Coming to stillness here, take a deep breath in. Exhale, squeeze those knees towards the chest. If you want, you can lift your head and shoulders up off the mat, hug yourself into a little ball. Take another deep breath in, and then exhale, lower. Keep the right knee hugging to the chest, straighten your left leg long. Flex your left foot and reach through the heel for length. Take an inhale in that length, and as you exhale, soften that right knee to chest. Find the nice path of the hip, so maybe a little more right, maybe a little more straight towards the shoulder. Inhale for length, exhale, knee towards the chest. Try and keep that spine and tailbone on the mat. That may change how far you pull the knee in towards you. We're working on this hip movement here as opposed to rounding too much through the spine. Now reach down with your left hand and grab the outside of your right foot. If that's not accessible, grab the outside of the right ankle. Take your right hand to the outside of the right knee, and then just gently pull that shin towards you. So it's like I'm doing a pigeon pose on my back. You may feel that in the right glute, down the outside of the thigh. And just imagine you're drawing that shin towards you while your knee goes wide and your shins across the body. This is called sleeping pigeon. Nice full inhales, full exhales. Take the outside of the right knee with your left hand. Draw the knee across the body, twist. Right hand can be to a T position, palm up to the ceiling. Think of lengthening the spine, reaching the tailbone away from you. Soften the ribs into the body, and then gently just draw that right knee towards the floor, towards your mat with your left hand. If it's too pinchy in the groin, lower the foot a little. Imagine the chest unwinds towards the ceiling and the hips and pelvis twist to the left. Easy breaths in, deep exhale out. Inhale, unwind back to your back. Hug both knees into the chest. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, right leg goes long. Left knee to chest. Find the path of the left hip. Keep your spine long and reach the right heel away. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. Big inhale. Exhale, soften the knee. Reaching down, grab the outside of the left foot with the right hand. So my palm is on the arch of my foot. If that's not available, hold the outside of the ankle. Hold the outside of the left knee with your left hand, and then draw the shin towards the chest. So the hip is rotating outwards, and we're back in our sleeping pigeon pose. Nice full breaths in. Embrace the tightness on the outside of the left hip. Gently pulling that left foot towards you. Ideally, ankle is flexed, so toes drawn towards the knee. Keeping both sides of the spine along the mat. Relaxing through the pelvis. Now let go of the foot. Grab the outside of the left knee with your right hand. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, allow the left knee to cross the body, twist. Left hand to a T, palm to ceiling. Adjust the position of your left leg so there's more comfort there. Inhale to lengthen the spine. So I want to take a curve out of my lower back by drawing the ribs down into the body and reaching the tailbone away. So reaching the tailbone towards my right heel. Collarbones are broad, chest towards ceiling. Notice what you notice here. I notice that as I exhale, if I send my breath into my lower left bum, I can really create some nice length between the lower back and into the glutes. Inhale back through center, hugging knees towards the chest. Give them a nice squeeze. And then place the feet as wide as your yoga mat, knees bent, hips bent. Arms again to a T, palms to the ceiling if that's comfortable. We'll inhale to relax. Exhale, knees fall to the right, windshield wipers. Really open up across the front of the left hip by reaching the left knee away. Inhale back through center, knees to the left. Reaching the right knee away. Inhale back through center, knees back to the right. So again, draw the ribcage down, spine towards the mat, twist happens in the hips. Inhale back through center, knees to left. I can really draw that right knee down to the mat, turning that right hip in, and get a nice movement at the right hip. Inhale back through center. Let's place the feet hip width apart now. Snuggle the heels towards your bum. Arms can come down to your side body. Draw your shoulder blades away from your ears and snuggle the shoulder blades together on your spine. You might feel your lower back pop up a little bit. That's okay. Take a big inhale. And as you exhale, squeeze the glutes. Really lift the hips to the ceiling. And think of lengthening across the hips here. Take a full breath in. Exhale, lower down. Reset, spine, hips along the mat. Inhale to relax. Exhale, squeezing glutes, pressing down into your heels, reaching your knees away from you. Relax the throat. You'll feel the weight come up into the shoulders. Exhale, relax. Just do that one more time. Inhale to relax. Exhale, squeeze the glutes, lift the hips, really push into the feet. Lengthen through the front body, support with the back body. And then exhale down. Bring the soles of the feet together, knees wide, butterfly pose. Adjust the heels either a little further or a little closer to the groin, depending on the tightness of the inner thighs. Hands can be to a T position, palms up, or you can find the cactus position where the shoulders and elbows are 90 degrees. Let's spend several breaths just breathing here. Lengthening from the pelvis to the inside knee. Breathing into the pecs, the collarbones, the chest, and allowing the back of the arms and shoulders to get heavy to the floor. Continue to breathe there. And again, just notice what you feel here. Such a simple position, but requires lots of open length across the front body. We do a lot of squatting, a lot of burpees. We tend to get tight in those inner thighs, quads, upper hamstrings. A lot of push-ups, a lot of pressing. We tend to get tension across the front body. Okay, drawing those knees up to center. We're going to come to lying on your right side. This is where you might want a pillow, might be more comfortable. So laying on your right side, knees and hips are bent to 90 degrees. So we want to just take up that movement so the lower back can stay relaxed. Both hands are in front. Palms together, arms at 90 degrees. We're just going to take a nice deep breath in, and we're going to circle that arm around, creating as big a circumference as possible, opening up across the left shoulder, and then coming back to the start. So really reach from the armpit. We want to lengthen, get as long as you can in that left side body before you circle that around, letting your upper body peel back, but trying to keep the lower body out of the equation. Relax the head and neck, reach from the armpit. Big inhale as you circle around. And let's do that once more. And when you come around the top, let's just rest in that twist. So find where you can rest that left arm. I'm working to keep my knees stacked and my hips to the ceiling, and I'm rolling the chest back. So it's quite an intense stretch for me around my lower back rib cage and shoulder blade, not to mention that left shoulder. I'm gonna lift my head a little bit, lengthen the back of my neck, and just a little pop in my spine, which is totally fine. You're not hurting anything if your spine gives you a snap, crackle, pop in some of these poses. So nice deep breath in that twist. And then let's unwind. Come back to your right side. Straighten your legs. Make sure you're right on your hip. And we're going to reach around and grab that left ankle and find just a length of the quad inside line here. So I've got my right knee bent a little. I'm reaching to grab the left ankle. If that's not available, you can use your pants if you got tights or pants on, or you can just rest that knee and bend as far as you're comfortable with. Now squeeze your glutes a little and really reach your kneecap away and see if you can tuck your ribs in again. So we want completely a straight line on the front body, and ideally the thighs lined up and the knees reaching away. I get a great pull on the quad. My left shoulder is working to hold position so I can roll the left shoulder back. It's a bit tricky on the balance. Nice deep breath in. And let's unwind from that. Let's roll onto your back. Reset here. And then we'll roll onto the left side. So we're same position left side, hips and knees bent to 90 degrees. Head resting on a pillow if you like, hands together in front. We'll take a nice inhale. You're going to circle that right arm all the way overhead, reaching from the armpit, lengthening the side body, rolling back to complete the circle as best you can. See if you can keep those fingertips closer towards the floor. And again, imagine as I'm working on that circle, I really allow the shoulder to roll back. And that's where I feel all that release in the front of the shoulder. Allow it to roll back. Let's do that once more. Reach, huge circumference. I can feel the stretch all the way down my side body. And then on this next one, let's rest in the twist. I'm going to adjust the arm where I can let it connect to the floor. Knees and hips are still bent to 90 degrees, and I'm going to actively work to stack them. So for me, that means I have to reach my top knee forward and then relax the spine back. Keep the back of the neck long and breathe into that deep twist. Notice where it feels most intense. That might be where some of your work is. I feel this way more in my upper body than the lower body. Let's roll right onto the left side. Straighten out the body, lengthen the legs, perch on your left hip, and let's reach down, find that ankle or whatever you can grab a hold of, and open up through the front of the right hip and thigh. So I'm rolling the right shoulder back, reaching the right knee away, trying not to arch the back too much. I can squeeze the glutes a little. Breathing into that length. Catch yourself too if you're straining through your neck. Let your head relax. It might feel a bit awkward on the head and neck, but better awkward than awkward and working hard. So do let the head rest. Let's unwind, let go, come onto your back, reset here, and let's just do a couple windshield wipers right to left. Notice what you notice. And again, if your spine, your lower back feels tight with some of these poses as mine does, and since we're working through the hips, likely your back might take a little more effort because the hips aren't able to. So just food for thought that way. All right, let's rock up to sitting and we'll come up into our tabletop position. Okay, so everybody find your tabletop. If your wrists or hands are uncomfortable here, you could always come on your fists. Let's see if you can come into that tabletop position. So my spine's nice and straight. Shoulders are down away from the ears. My fingers are spread wide, and I'm really rooting down into the floor. That kind of gas pedal thought of the palm and the knuckles of the fingers. Let's find your cat and cow. So you're gonna inhale, arch the spine, lift the gaze. And then we'll exhale, round. Pull your ribs into your body, let your head hang. Press out between the shoulder blades. Inhale, arch. And again, avoid dumping into your lower back. Really roll the shoulders back, lift the gaze. Exhale, round. And I really draw up on my lower abdominals, really pull the pubic bone into my belly button. Use your strength of your core to round the lower back. And once more, inhaling, lift the gaze. And then exhaling, rounding. Lovely. Now we're going to come on to our tummy. So all the way down to your stomach, if that's comfortable. If not, you can stay on your hands and knees. And then we're going to come into Sphinx pose. Back up a bit so you guys can see me. So I have my elbows under my shoulders, my forearms shoulder width apart, my palms down into the floor. My toes are untucked. And in this position, I'm letting the belly rest to the mat and pulling the shoulders down. So it does feel a little bit uncomfortable on the lower spine, but in a I don't go here very often way. So if this is painful for you, certainly you can come back into child's pose. If it's more like uncomfortable, my back doesn't know how to do this, see if you can breathe into it. As I pull the shoulder blades down and reach the chest forward, I can take that discomfort, that tension, a little higher out of my lower back and into my middle back. You may also find it's difficult to rest the hips down, and that's tension across the front body too. So just best you can there. One more deep breath, and exhale, soften. Let's unwind, come into child's pose, just because that is definitely challenging on the low back. In child's pose, your knees can be wide. You can tuck or untuck your toes. Arms can be under your forehead or stretched out long. And just take several deep breaths into your lower back there. You want to imagine that your tailbone gets heavy to the mat and that your spine gets long. You can also soften your chest towards the mat and really get some nice length along your armpits. Inhaling to come out of that, we're going to move into the scorpion pose that we often do and warm up in the gym. So I'm going to be on my belly again. I'm going to reach my right arm long at a T position, palm down. I'm going to prop my left fingers to help support the movement. I'm going to take a nice deep breath in and exhale. I'm going to roll to come off my left shoulder. And I want to keep the back leg straight. So my left leg is straight, my toes are pointed. I'm really pressing the right shoulder into the floor. I'm using my left fingertips as a guide. Now draw the belly, the rib cage down into the body. Create length on both sides of the spine. Breathing there and notice what you notice. So for me, I don't get a lot in my right shoulder. But man, do I ever get a lot down through the front body and the outside of the left hip. So what that means is when I take up movement in my upper body, I don't have as much movement left in my lower. So it's a good idea for me to work on mobility that incorporates upper and lower together. So you may find that too. Nice deep breath there. Let's unwind. Come back to center, adjust on your mat, and we'll do the other side. So left arm is long, palm to the floor. Right fingertips prop. The right elbow and shoulder are bent at 90 degrees. I'm going to take a big inhale. And as I exhale, I'm going to roll onto the left hip, reaching that right leg long. And then work to lengthen and straighten my spine. I can even tuck my head back and ensure my head and neck are lined up over the shoulders. And again, breathing into the tightness. So just again, notice. So on this side, I feel more on my left shoulder actually, and it feels pretty good down below. So it just tells you where the tension spots are in your body and maybe highlights what would be good for work for you. Let's inhale, come back to the belly. Come back up into child's pose. So again, we'll just give that lower back a reprieve. So I'm reaching the sits bones back as I reach my fingertips forward. I'm breathing into the tailbone, the sits bones, the lower back. Letting the spine both lengthen and also soften. Inhaling back through tabletop. Okay, here we go, Roy. This is our thread the needle. So you might want your pillow handy. And if this is uncomfortable on your neck at all, some people just don't like this pose. It's just too much twist. Just come back into child's pose or move through cat and cow if you like. So hands are under the shoulders. I'm in that tabletop. I'm going to inhale and reach my left fingertips towards the ceiling, twist. As I exhale, I'm going to thread my arm through the left arm under the right armpit, reaching it as far as I can. I'm going to still keep my right arm, fingertips tented, just like we did in that last pose. And then I'm going to rest the back of my head and the back of my shoulder on the mat. So this is where you might want a pillow. So the back of the left hand is on the floor. The twist ideally comes from the upper back. I feel it everywhere, but you want to try and soften your neck. Relax your shoulder away from your ear. So make sure that left shoulder isn't jammed up behind you. And if you look like you're more just here, that's okay too. So if you're not really that twisted, that's cool. If it's available, really reach. So I'm reaching from my shoulder blade, I'm reaching from my spine to really take up the twist and then resting down. From below, my toes are tucked to give me leverage. And I'm trying to center my hips back up to the ceiling instead of letting them drift to the right. And then I try and breathe there. And whenever you take up a lot of movement, the breath gets restricted. So back off if you can't take much of a breath. Reach those hips away from the shoulders so the spine stays lengthened. And breathe into that. Let's inhale, unwind. Just prop yourself up and just roll your shoulders a little. So that pose for most people is either a love it or a hate it. And I would argue that You don't need to force yourself to do it if it doesn't feel good. Okay. So let's try the other side, knowing that it might feel completely different. So back into tabletop. Inhale, right arm to the ceiling, twist. Exhale, weave the right arm through underneath the left armpit. Tent the left fingers and work to reach from the spine, the shoulder blade, the right arm through. You can rest the head, neck relaxed, and breathe into that. And just again, notice what you notice. Think about reaching your hips away, lengthening both sides of the spine, taking up the twist in the middle upper back and in the shoulder blade. So this really gets between the shoulder blades and around the shoulder blades and that rib cage. Just try and make sure the right ear is away from your shoulder. Another couple deep breaths. And then let's unwind. Come back up. You can sit on your heels and just roll your shoulders. So again, just notice. That takes up a lot of twists going on. How are we doing for time? Good. Okay, a couple more things before we move into a down dog. So we're going to come into that frog pose. So I'm taking the weight on my hands again. I'm going to spread the knees wider and my ankles are right under my knees. So I'm trying to get into that 90-degree position. I'm going to turn sideways so you guys can see that better. So it doesn't matter where you are. And again, if you need something under the knee, if that's uncomfortable on the inside of the knee, put something on the inside of the knee. But ideally, you have enough movement that you can rest on the inside of the thigh. Now, in that position, again, think of reaching your tailbone long. So we take out some of the curve in the lower back because we don't want the lower back to take up this movement. We want the deep inner hips to take up this movement. So the inside arch of my feet are on the floor as best you can. Feet are flexed. And we'll just gently rock in and out of that frog position. You can either stay on your hands, or if you'd like, you can move down to the forearms. It's a constant practice for me to make sure I'm not just taking up the position in the lower back. So I feel like there's a little bit of activity of my core. I'm supporting that position and I'm imagining that my spine is straight. And I'm thinking about those hips relaxing back into the socket. Like I want the space here. You need the length on the inner thigh, but the hips actually go back here. So it's a wider position, but it is what happens at the bottom of a squat. You need the hips to be able to sit back, and we need the length of the quads and the inner thighs and the inner hamstrings. So just gently and actively controlling that. Awesome. Now find about 75% of kind of your maximal length in the pose or depth in the pose. And just see if you can take about 4 or 5 deep breaths there. Notice if your shoulders come up around your ears, let them relax. Lovely, and then we can walk ourselves back up. And then just back into tabletop. All right, with all that movement now, our downward dog should feel pretty good. So we want toes tucked. We're in our tabletop position. We're going to take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, send your hips to the ceiling. Lengthen out your down dog if you need to. You really want to root into your index finger and your thumb. And then you want to hug those biceps. So I'm turning the shoulders outwards to hug the biceps towards my ears. And keep the knees a little bent and the heels lifted, depending on your mobility in the back of the leg, and then just gently pedal the feet. As you pedal the feet, don't let the spine change. And ideally, we want that nice triangle shape with your tailbone reaching to the ceiling and your spine long. Awesome. Now, we're going to come in a three-legged dog and what's called a wild thing. So if that's not happy, comfortable for you, you can stay in your down dog. You can go back to your cat and cow, your child's pose. But come to stillness in your down dog. And then we're going to inhale that left leg to the ceiling and then open up the hip, bend the knee. And you're in this awkward kind of three-legged dog shape. They actually call it peeing on a fire hydrant too. So I'm still pressing down through the hands, but I'm working to stabilize on my right leg and lift that left knee to the ceiling, bend the ankle, bend the knee, and then just press through the hands and open that up. Let's inhale, bring that down. Reset your downward dog. And we'll try that on the other side. So you'll inhale the right leg towards the ceiling. Bend the knee, open the hip, lift the knee to the ceiling. Still press back through both hands. And that gives me a lovely lengthening of my left hamstring and a big opening of that right hip. Deep breath there. And then exhale, relax down. Let's come into a child's pose for a couple breaths. Just reset, take the weight off the hands. You can wiggle your hips around, circle your wrists if that's challenging being on their wrists for so long. So I'd like to spend the next few minutes in pigeon, and we'll do both sides. And I want us to be gentle and aligned in pigeon. And again, have a pillow nest handy if you feel it's more supportive and good for you. Pigeon can be tough on people's knees, so we want to make sure we're not straining through there. So let me talk you through it. If this type of pigeon isn't comfortable, go back on your back and you can do that sleeping pigeon that we did first in the class. So I'm in my tabletop position. I'm going to take a big inhale. I'll exhale back up into downward dog. Take one breath in downward dog. As you inhale, lift the right leg towards the ceiling, three-legged dog. Then we're going to bend the knee and sweep the knee through into our pigeon. Now, unless you have really nice, open, mobile, and strong hips, my right knee is towards my right hand. It's on a nice angle, but I'm not worried about that knee being right out to the side, okay? I'm going to let the left leg rest behind me. Untuck the toes. If you look back, you want your foot and ankle straight. You don't want your foot rolled in. So the weight is on the front of my ankle. I'm taking some body weight here, and you can see my knees more forward. It's not to the side, okay? Now, I want to line up my hips. So I want to think about taking my front hip back and my back hip forward. So instead of being in a twist, I'm really lengthening. That drives up the length requirement here. Now I can slide that left leg back even further, and then I can come down to my elbows. So find the balance between a real deep pigeon and one that's both aligned and supported. You can rest your head, and we're going to spend at least a minute here. So pigeon often brings up a challenge. It's a challenge to sit in the position. It's often uncomfortable. It can feel awkward. So as best you can, find that position. Soften your breathing. Bring your awareness back to the breath. And find the balance between supporting yourself here, but also letting go. So remembering more isn't necessarily better, but better to support what you have and find more ease in what you have. If you find that it's very easy for you to just hang out in pigeon, see if you can contract your deep core pelvic floor. So really create tension inside deep in the pelvis and then let it relax. See if you can find a bit more strength in the pose if the movement there is very simple. Again, think of lengthening the spine, drawing the right hip back, left hip forward. Imagine length of the front of the hip. Take a couple more deep breaths. And then you can just gently unwind from that up into your downward dog. So gently make your way into downward dog, pedal out your feet. And notice what you notice. Before we do the other side, we're just going to do one little pose between. So I'm going to come down on my right knee and I'm going to reach my left leg long. So this is your gate latch pose. So I'm kneeling on the right, left leg is long. I'm sealing the pinky side of my foot to the mat as best I can. I'm going to turn the hips to face forward, soften the ribs into the body. We're going to inhale, arms up, and then I'm going to side bend, place that right hand on the floor, tuck the fingers, and find as much length from the fingertips of my left hand to the pinky side of my feet, tucking the hips forward. So we don't want those hips left behind. So I'm one long line. Breathe into that left side body. So I have strength here, but I'm also working on that length. Good. Let's exhale, come down into that. Back to the tabletop. Back, downward dog. Inhale to relax. Exhale, hips to ceiling, downward dog. So let's line up the pigeon on the other side, knowing that again, it might feel completely different on the other side. So left leg to sky, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, sweep the leg through, knee towards the left hand, untuck the right toes, wiggle the left foot back. I don't know what happened here. Am I still there? Oh, good. So we're in that pigeon. We're going to line up the hips as best you can. So this time, right hip goes back, left hip goes forward. Find the neutral straight pelvis. And when you're ready, either staying there or coming down onto your forearms. So relax the area of your sits bones and your tailbone, but keep a little bit of integrity and a little bit of connection to your deep lower core, so below your belly button, and then soften the upper body. Again, more isn't better, better is better. Adjust as you need. Refocusing on the breath. Full deep breaths in, full exhales out. And just again, notice what you notice. One more deep breath in, full letting go breath out. And then we can gently unwind back to your down dog. Notice at the back of your hips feel hopefully a little more space. And then we'll come down to the knees, finding the gate latch pose on the other side. So right leg goes long. Working towards finding hips facing forward, bum tucked under a little bit. Seal the pinky side of the feet as best you can. You may feel lots of length on that inside. If it's too much, you can bend the knee. Inhale, let the arms come up. Exhale, left hand to floor. Reaching your fingertips long. So my hips have slipped back, so I'm going to drive the hips forward just gently. Reach the fingertips away, but press the pinky side of the foot into the floor. Breathe into that right side body. Creating as much length. I got a lovely little click in my lower back. And then you can let that relax. Let's have a seat on our bum. Knees bent, feet connected to the mat in front. And just kind of notice what you notice here in sitting. Relax your shoulders. Notice your breath. Hopefully there's a little more undoing and space in the body. We'll bring the hands to the tops of the shins on the knees. Take a nice deep breath in. And then we'll gently roll ourselves back one vertebrae at a time. All the way to your back. Once you're down on your back, draw the knees into the chest. Rock and roll from side to side. We'll finish up with Happy Baby before we move into our Shavasana. So you're going to weave the insides of the hands and the elbows on the insides of the knees. Grab the outside of the feet or the outside of the ankle. And then we'll just lift the soles of the feet towards the ceiling as you draw the knees down along the side body. You can rock from side to side. You can alternately straighten one leg and then the other. But just one more lovely hip movement. Shoulders away from your ears, spine nice and long. Just kind of noticing. Lovely. Take one more deep breath here. A lovely letting go breath out. And then we can make our way down into our Shavasana unless there's another pose you would like or your body would like before sealing our practice in Shavasana. Make sure you're comfy, slip on socks or a sweater if it's chilly. I'm gonna slip my socks on. And let's use the next couple minutes to find our way back to stillness in the body and focus on the breath. You can have knees bent, legs straight. If you've got a blanket, you can always cozy up. Full, easy breaths in. Full, complete exhales out. And when you're ready, in your own time, just make your way over onto your right-hand side, curl up into that fetal position, and take one more moment. Noticing how you feel in your body. Hopefully your breath is flowing a little easier. And make your way up into a cross-legged seated position when you're ready. Sitting tall on your sits bones, roll your shoulders back, take a nice deep breath in. Let everything go, exhale. Hands towards heart center, bowing the head. From my light to yours, namaste.
That was great. Thank you, Jen.
You're so welcome. Happy hips for Sunday.
Thank you.
Great way to start.
Thanks so much, Jen.
Thank you. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thanks.
Awesome work. Daddy, have a good one.